Go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers.
Tiger talk.
Go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers.
Tuff, Tiger talk.
Go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers, go Tigers.
Tuff, Tiger talk.
Go Tigers, go Tigers.
You're now listening to Tuff Tiger Talk with Big Q and the guys on the Pro Media Network.
It's Tuff Tiger Talk Tuesday. We're in the building. Much love to the Tuff Tiger Talk Nation. LSU stand up. Much love to our LSU Fighting Tigers basketball club. Doing big things, man. Team been doing big things. They ranked inside the top 15 this year. Prospects looking pretty good for LSU, man. So we're going to keep this thing rolling. And on the football side of the things, we stepped back only to step forward this upcoming year. And listen, to be quite honest with you, it's been tough, but we're trending in the right direction. Love the hire as this team, as you can see what Coach Kelly's doing moving forward, building the squad. We are losing some people, but gaining others, as to be expected when you get a new coach. Some of the previous coach, his staff would either transfer because this new coach is coming in with a new staff, and some of these guys might not like who they are, so they hit the transfer portal. It's a part of the game. So anyway, in this episode of Tuff Tiger Talk, we got a lot of news to cover with you guys. We'll try to keep it within about a 10-minute time frame for this Tuff Tiger Talk Tuesday. Hit upon the like button, fam. Hit the subscribe button and join Tuff Tiger Talk Nation. All things LSU football, man. So much love to the fam. Appreciate y'all being this installment of Tuff Tiger Talk Tuesday. We in the building. I'm Big Q chiming in. Let's get into some of the news, notes, and items on this episode of Tuff Tiger Talk. I'm going to start open with the latest things. This one is entitled LSU is now a top 10 program, and well, top 10 recruiting class this year. LSU's 2022 class is now in the top 10 of the composite overall team rankings. And this is for the 247 sports composite, as they are trying to do some stuff. And you see with Coach Kelly coming in here and he bringing in talent as the team tries to build moving forward to fill some holes, offensively speaking, and so on and so forth. So let's get into this article right here, coming from LSU Wire, Mr. Patrick Kahn on the scoop. And this is what this was breaking down. Is basically Coach Kelly had to get creative after signing the initial class of 13 high school recruits. The former Notre Dame head coach stated that the program will build through the portal, and that's exactly what he's done on Tuesday. The Tigers land their 11 transfer with 24 commits in this class. 8 spots remain. Those 11 commits make up the #1 transfer class in the country, according to 247, 24/7 Sports. So it lifted the overall class ranking, which takes into account both high school recruits and transfer, as LSU's Coach Kelly are at number 10 with some work left. The Tigers are number 4 in the SEC behind Texas A&M and Alabama with Georgia. Now, a breakthrough of some of the top 10 classes as follow, as Texas has the #1 commit. As you know, they got Max Johnson to come over there, as well as, of course, you see Alabama's commits. Eli Ricks went there, and of course Georgia, who won the championship, made some moves as well. And Ohio State coming through. They have 23 commits next on there, followed by Texas with 31 commits. You see Penn State with 25, followed by 23 by Notre Dame. Oklahoma with 24. You see 19 commits there by North Carolina. And of course, number 10, LSU bringing up the top 10. Some of their top signees, Will Campbell, the offensive lineman, and then top transfer is Mekhi Wingo, the big defensive tackle. Well, a lot of people are salivating as he comes in here to join Mr. Mason Smith. So this will be intriguing to see. And like I said, with this coach coming in and doing some stuff, bringing in some talent, and trying to be viable and keep the Tigers where they need to be, you know, in that class in terms of just climbing up, man. It's tough coming in right on in, and of course looking to try to solidify a higher coaching staff and do what he got to do. And speaking of the coaching staff, let's go over the final staff here by Coach Kelly. As you can see, finished the staff And of course, a lot of people were looking at it. He had one last hire to do, and he did. So let's go over that and give a quick breakdown of Coach Kelly's new staff and what it looks like. Now, this is covered by the advocate, Mr. Wilson Alexander. And of course, you can see some of the good people that they brought on. He started with an offensive coordinator with Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator and tight ends coach. Denbrock and Kelly worked together before multiple stops. They know each other. And Coach Kelly loves the kind of system Coach Denbrock's going to bring to the LSU offense. The Bearcats offense morphed over the last 5 years, shifted from a run-heavy ball control approach and combined with development of the quarterback, Mr. Dason Riddler. And they finished top 17 in scoring last 2 years, so that's promising. And Kelly hired Denbrock the day after Cincinnati's 27-6 loss to Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal. And Kelly, who called his own plays until recently, may add input into the scheme with Coach Denbrock. So getting somebody you're familiar with is always a big and good thing. So Denbrock, offensive coordinator, as well as the tight ends coach. And then, of course, what would the defense look like? A lot of people thought that they'll keep Coach Durante, but they chose to go with Matt House, the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. So currently linebackers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll stay with the franchise through his playoff run, but House last call plays at Kentucky as a defensive coordinator in 2018. That's the season, one of the best in school history. The Wildcats held opponents to just under 17 points a game, which ranks sixth in the country. As he worked his way through the college ranks, House previously the defensive coordinator at Pitt, Florida, and the National Bowl before his 3-year stint with Kentucky. He spent the past 3 years with the Chiefs, gaining NFL experience while they won the Super Bowl. So Matt House could very well end up winning another championship if the Kansas City Chiefs keep looking like what they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll see on, as Matt House is the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. We'll keep this thing moving. Frank Wilson, he's the associate head coach and running backs coach. The day after LSU hired Wilson last month marked a shift in the public opinion about Kelly's staff because Kelly was in the midst of clearing out the previous assistants. But yeah, Wilson is one of the first additions, gaining a successful recruiter and New Orleans native straight out of St. Aug. And he left McNeese State for the position, may help most of the recruiting trail, but he helped former LSU coach Les Miles sign top 10 classes before. So, and also he has a good track record of being a proven running backs coach. So it's good to see that Kelly reached into and picked up a really good recruiter and Coach Wilson and brought him on to the team. So he'll help out with bringing more of the recent or local recruits into fold. After one of LSU's top assistants, Poland spent the past 5 years as the special teams coordinator at Notre Dame. The position lets him work with the entire roster, giving him a deep understanding of players and the pulse of the team. Now, Poland, as a former head coach at Nevada, was also a major cog in Notre Dame's recruiting operation. So Coach Bill Poland is a special teams and recruiting coordinator. So you can see the theme here of very proven veteran coaches that have an ability to recruit talent as well. Quarterbacks coach would be Joe Sloan. Sloan came to LSU after 9 seasons at La Tech, including his last 2 as the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. With his time in Louisiana, Sloan provided another assistant who has a deeper understanding of the state. He helped La Tech sign the top class in Conference USA just a couple of years ago. And this will be intriguing as well. So recruiting, and good coaching. And of course, the last one he felt, in his position was the wide receivers coach, and he got a pretty good one in Cortez Hankton, who will come as his wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator. The last hire on the staff, Hankton went to St. Aug and played wide receiver for 6 years in the NFL. He coached the position at Dartmouth and Vanderbilt before he joined Georgia's coaching staff in 2018. Hankton, who was also the passing game coordinator at Georgia, took over for Mickey Joseph. So good call right there. And of course, we do keep somebody we're familiar with, a holdover from the Coach Orgeron staff, which is Coach Brad Davis, the offensive line coach, who's a Baton Rouge native, was the only assistant retained. He came to LSU from Arkansas 2 months before the 2021 season and later made him the interim coach of the Texas Bowl. What a disaster. And though LSU's offensive line initially struggled as it dealt with injuries and adjusted to Davis' style, the group steadied later in the season. So Coach Davis is coming in to be that guy. Jamar Kane, who's the defensive line and run game coordinator LSU Swipe came away from USC, where he was expected to join Lincoln Riley's staff after the outside linebackers and defensive ends last year at Oklahoma. A career defensive line coach came and replaced defensive line coach Andre Carter, who spent one season at LSU. And of course, the final two coaches in the secondary is Ron Steeples, who will coach the cornerbacks. He's an up-and-comer in the profession. Steeples was a successful high school coach before he joined the Vikings as an assistant special teams coach last season. Steeples, who also played at Missouri and Memphis, bounced around NFL for 3 years. Kerry Cooks, who will be the safeties coach. Cooks followed Kelly from Notre Dame, where he returned 2 years ago as a defensive analyst, and Cooks was the co-defensive coordinator with the Fighting Irish when he went to the BCS National Championship back in 2012. He then coached defensive backs at Oklahoma and at Texas. So, and then, of course, you can look at some of the monetaries or the monies that were spent on these guys, with the biggest compensation going to defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, Mr. Matt House. And, of course, the second biggest chunk of change going to Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator / tight ends coach. So, as you see, this is a very veteran-like staff. Most of this stuff has to deal with Coach Kelly having an appreciation for and having guys that he's worked with before in the past. So as you can see, the Coach Kelly is bringing in some guys to build his way of winning here with LSU. And like I said, remember, this is a coach that has won no matter where he has gone. He continues to win games. So that's intriguing. So let's go on to the next one, LSU transfer tracker. And this is all the guys that we brought in. And we touched on a few of these guys early on, but let's go over the tracker for this one to find out, who we got. So we talk about who we bringing in. Mekhi Wingo will be brought into the game. He made the SEC all-freshman team last season after 27 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, and 40-yard interception return for a TD. Wingo played for new LSU cornerback coach Ron Steeples in high school, also considered UCLA and USC, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, but he joined LSU, and he'll be on that line with Mason Smith. A lot of people are happy about that. Tremont Sharts, the offensive lineman, who's 6'4", 335, transferred to LSU as a 2-time FCS All-American. The fifth-year senior started 40 consecutive games at East Tennessee State. LSU hopes the veteran tackle can help somewhere on the offensive line in his final year of eligibility. Big signing right there. As you can see, the two bigger of the transfer guys coming in are line guys, whether they defense or offense, both of which LSU needs help on. We also get a punter transfer. Mr. Jay Bramblett from Notre Dame comes in. And, of course, we know he has a history tied to Coach Kelly. A linebacker, Wes Weeks from the University of Virginia. Weeks made 31 tackles as a freshman last year. Originally signed with Virginia as a 3-star recruit out of the high school in Georgia. So there you go. We also have a wide receiver. We lost a few of those, but Kyron Lacey, Kyron, I guess it's pronounced Kyron Lacey, the wide receiver from UL. Lacey's a sophomore from Thibodeau. He caught 50 passes for almost 700 yards and 10 touchdowns over the last couple of years. He led UL with 6 touchdown catches this fall, immediately one of LSU's biggest targets. He's 6'3", 213. Lacey also provided depth. He becomes LSU's 7th transfer. Running back Noah Kane from Penn State, a Baton Rouge native. Kane was a former top 100 recruit who LSU pursued out of IMG Academy. He signed with Penn State. An ankle injury limited him in his freshman year to just 443 yards with 8 touchdowns. He suffered a season-ending leg injury in the opener. He returned to record 106 carries for 350, 4 touchdowns this fall. The junior has 2 years of eligibility, and word on the street, he's supposed to really help LSU out in the running game. Defensive back Greg Brooks Jr. from Arkansas, a junior from Harvey who went to West Jefferson High School, started at nickel for Arkansas the last 3 years, making him one of the most experienced players in the secondary. He recorded 112 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 4 interceptions, and 8 pass breakups. Brooks has 2 years of eligibility, joining the Fighting Tigers. Joe Fosha, the safety from Arkansas, who started the past 3 years at Arkansas, once a 3-star recruit from McDonald 35. Focher made 73 tackles this season, senior year, including 7.5 for loss And with 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakup, 3 quarterback hurries, he's a native of New Orleans and has 1 year of eligibility. So look for him to help out as well. And you can see Mekhi Gardner, the cornerback from UL, was originally from Mesquite, Texas, began his career at Navarro College. He then transferred to UL in 2019 and earned honorable mention in the Sun Belt Conference honors a year later. Gardner had 31 tackles, including 2.5 for loss. He also recorded a team-high 8 pass breakups as well. So also there's Slade Roy, the lone snapper from East Carolina, Miles Frazier, another offensive lineman from FIU. And of course, we're talking about, remember, the word is get offensive linemen to improve the LSU O-line big time. And they did that. They had, a few really good players. So Frazier helps address the need by committing over offers from Ohio State, Florida State, a freshman All-American last season. Frazier has 3 years of eligibility, listed at 6'4", 304 pounds. So pretty good transfers to help out the O-line, to help out the D-line, to help out the secondary, and even bring a little depth to the linebacker position because we did lose a few people. And of course, we transfer out, about Devontae Lee from Amit. He transferred out. Dwight McLaughlin, he transferred to Arkansas. He was a pretty good addition. Last year when people went down, he stepped up, did his thing. Alex Adams, another wide receiver, chose to move on out, transfer out. Trey Palmer, who decided to go to Nebraska. Hope he, has a good time up there. Landon Jackson, a defensive lineman. He was a freshman. He's getting out of here. And probably one of the biggest names is Max Johnson, who transferred to Texas A&M. And with his situation, Deion Smith, another wide receiver. Eli Ricks, who had a pretty decent year last year for LSU, transferred to Alabama. Navana Q. Strong, who a lot of people liked a lot, he decided to hit that. And of course, Coy Moore was another one. Coy deciding to jump in there. So you can see there are a lot of wide receivers on this list transferring out. So a lot of these other guys is transferring in, like Karen Lacey. And of course, we did have some other news on some other players that decided to stay. But listen, not everybody, that's just how it goes sometimes when you have guys that come in. Some guys leave, some guys stay, and that's just how it goes. But you can see Brian Kelly's not wasting any time getting talent and guys to come back in and help out. Not just new talent, but also knowing how to speak to guys and trying to get guys to remain in place. Guys like Jaray Jenkins, who we'll cover in this article right here, as you can see. Jaray Jenkins makes his final decision on LSU versus the NFL, and LSU wide receiver Jaray Jenkins mulled over the idea of leaving for the 2022 NFL draft. Instead, with the NFL declaration deadline arriving on Monday, Jenkins announced that he was returning to school for a 5th year, which is a good idea for Jaray Jenkins. He emerged as the full-time starter for the Tigers last year, entering the season with 28 career receptions for 464 and 2 touchdowns before finishing out the 21 schedule with 34 catches for 502 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, Jenkins caught the game-winning touchdown in the final minute of the regular season finale over Texas A&M, then hauled in a touchdown in the Texas Bowl earlier this month. So as a sophomore in 2020, he appeared in 10 games with 7 starts. He was 4th on the team with 23 receptions for 397 yards and 2 touchdowns. So good having, Jaray Jenkins deciding to return to LSU. It does help steady the wide receiver room for the Tigers, and it shows that, not everybody's deciding to make a move. As you can see, Coach Kelly, what is he assembling here? And it's good news to see Jaray Jenkins make the decision to stay in place. And that to me, in terms of what I'm thinking, that is also a very good move, because he'll have more of an opportunity to kind of improve upon what he did in last year. So not a bad call by Jaray Jenkins coming back. Also, LSU linebacker Mika Bakersfield returning for one more season in Baton Rouge. You see the theme right here. We're getting Mika back. Bakersfield coming off that breakout 2020 season for the Tigers gives clarity to the future of the linebacker room, and having him back is a big plus. So it's a big thumbs up for LSU for having Bakersfield there. to come back and work with what they have. In addition to Bakersfield, LSU does have some options to work with at the inside linebacker position, including veteran Mike Jones, Greg Penn, Josh White, Antoine Sampa, and recent transfer Wes Weeks, who joined the program over the weekend. Is interested to see what Bakersfield return means for LSU and adding more talent to the group. Now, earlier today, safety Jay Ward announced that he was returning to the program for the 2022 season. So adding Bakers, Mayfield, Jay Ward, and of course we talked about Jare Jenkins is a big move as well. Also wanted to build the future Tigers will be persistent in targeting Harold Perkins to add to the group as well. So it's a good call to see some of these guys come in. As another interesting aspect to consider is defensive coordinator and linebackers coach Matt House, who advanced in the divisional round with Kansas City Chiefs and playoffs, what he wants to do with the position he'll be coaching. So it's always good to have a coach with experience, especially if they get the Super Bowl and he comes back there and brings that ensemble to LSU. That'd be pretty cool. So we did get a couple of the guys that were impactful last year returning to kind of steady the room. I just mentioned a few guys. Well, let me give you another guy, and that's Mr. Ali Gay to return for one more season. So you see the theme right here. As Coach Kelly was looking to build through the transfer portal, and now some guys that were on the fence of whether they should leave or go, he was able to, him and the assistant coaches were able to talk some of these guys back to kind of come on back and let's do this thing again my way. Defensive end Ali Gay to return for one more season at LSU, getting Gay back in the fold solidifies the defensive line, adds another veteran talent to the group, and that is really good. So he does one last season of eligibility, and adding Gay back in that line helps out so much better. As in addition to him, we talked about Ward, we talked about Bakersfield returning back to the fold. So those guys come back and they really help out. And I just think it's terrific to have that staff in hand. As Gay recorded 19 tackles, he had 2.5 sacks, 1 pass defense. Now, opposite, he had Andre Anthony for most of the time on the field. Gay will now form a formidable 1-2 punch with B.J. Ojolari, who really stepped up as the season progressed. He has 7 sacks, 11.5 for tackles for a loss of his own. Mason Smith's another guy that you have there. Jacqueline Roy is another guy that'll be looking out. Young talents like Xavier Carter, Bryce Langston, Joseph Evans, Jacobian Guillory. Those guys are going to be looking at well. Quincy Wiggins is another guy to throw in the mix. So it's going to be cool to watch some of this stuff happens as we get new guys coming to the fold. So really good news on many fronts to see a lot of this talent coming to LSU. So, man, I'm just really ecstatic about the coach was able to do that. They're able to talk some of these guys back into the fold again. Meekers, Bakerfield, Ali Gay, and the rest of these guys, Jay Ward, to add with the talent that we have. So you can see with Brian Kelly hitting the ground running. Just don't do no more fake ass Southern accents, but just do what you do best, which is win college football games. So that'll do it for Tough Tiger Talk, man. I'm really excited about what I'm seeing for what Coach Kelly doing and the staff. So let's just keep this thing going. Much love to the fam and the Tough Tiger Talk Nation. Please feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, share the show's link on your social media feed, share it where all tough LSU Tiger fans dwell, man, and we can build this platform together. I'm Big Q. I appreciate you guys chiming on this episode. We'll return again for another episode of Tough Tiger Talk Tuesday as we continue to cover the team we love so well, our LSU Fighting Tigers. So with that being said, I'm going to holler at you guys later. Go Tigers.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us.